I'm gonna go ahead and put a semicolon, and this is all we have to do for this interface. So there's one last thing that I want to do, and then we're gonna start working on our service. So inside of the interface folder, I want to represent the entire state of the application. So like I said, we're gonna take a reactive approach, and this is all gonna make sense later. So I'm gonna create another file, and then I'm gonna call it app-state.ts. So this is going to represent the entire state of the application. So we're going to capture the entire state of the app at any given moment inside of this state interface here. So I'm going to collab this again with Control B, and then I'm going to do another export interface, and it's going to be the app state. So app state, and open and close curly braces. And what I want to have in there is the data state, because I want to know the state of the data. And of course, it's going to be of type data state. So that's our enum. And then we need also to grab the data. So I'm going to say app data. You can name this data, doesn't really matter. I want to make this generic. So to do this, I'm going to go up here and put the diamond and then pass in the type here. So I'm going to pass T and then say whatever type is passed up here is the type that this data is going to be. And again, this didn't have to be T. This can be any letter. As long as you use the same letter inside of the class, then that should work just fine. And then lastly, I want an error. If we get an error, and then this is going to be a string. So remember, we can't get the data and then get an error at the same time. So we can either get an error or we get the data. So what that means is that I'm going to have to make this optional. So I'm going to come up here again, put a question mark, go down here, put another question mark. So these two values inside of the interface, they're optional because we know that we're not going to have both of them at the same time. So we can either have this or have this other one. So the application state is going to have some sort of data. And whenever we're using this interface, we're going to have to pass in that type here, which is going to be the type of the application data. And this application data is going to contain all of the data of the application. The data state is going to determine the state of the application. So at any given moment, we can call on this data state, and it's going to tell us in what state the application is. We can either be in the loading state, and the loaded state, or in the error state. And since this is the data state, so we know that our data is loading, or it's loaded, or it's an error. So all this information is going to be captured inside of the application state, which is going to represent, like I said, the entire application state at any given moment.